This is your hook lying with overhead reach for high hinge point breathing drill. Whew, that was a mouthful. I can't believe I got it all out. Okay, so things you want to have handy for this. You want a yoga block and you want a foam roller. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to lay the foam roller behind our heads, okay? Be careful, it might want to roll away. So anyway, just make sure it stays. You can keep the yoga block handy. You may or may not need it. I will explain that to you later. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to lay down and we're in this hook lying position, which basically just means kind of like a bridge sort of position. What we want to make sure when we're in this position is that we can get our hamstrings on board. So we're going to pull back with the heels, and I'll give you a little trick if you're having trouble finding the hamstrings in just a second, but we want to pull back with the heels and kind of feel the back of the leg turn on, and we want to think about those hamstrings pulling on our pelvis and pulling it underneath us. Now, pro tip, you need to touch right here on the front of your hip. If you feel these muscles right here like popping out at you, and they will literally pop out into your hands, then you're really kind of getting some TFL and psoas just kicking on, and we don't want that. We want the muscles in the front of the hip to be able to stay really soft as we get those hamstrings to turn on. Now, the next thing we're going to do is once we've got the hamstrings on, front of the hip stays soft, is we're going to exhale. For this, we're feeling lower ribs kind of melt down and in. We don't want these lower ribs to be flaring out when we're getting ready to reach our arms over our head, okay? So that's our setup. Hamstrings are on, lower ribs are down, and we've zipped from the bottom up to get a lot of nice, really good, low, deep tension in our core. Now, you should feel when you're in this position right here that we don't have any part of our back that is kind of like arched and up away from the ground, okay? So pay special attention to that because it might change in the next part. Now what you're going to do is you're going to reach up. I want you to actively reach towards the ceiling instead of just kind of placing your arms up here, okay? So actively reach, which means that we get serratus, which is our reaching muscle, on board. So serratus is coming on board. Now we're going to take our arms back and you're going to meet yourself on the foam roller. Notice when you took your arms back, did anything that you just created change? When you took your arms back, did you have to arch your back to get your arms over your head? Did your ribs go whoop and lose kind of like their position that we had them really kind of nice and tucked in with those obliques, and did they just all of a sudden want to flare up and out again? So just kind of notice that, and if we had anything change, you want to make sure to exhale, get the ribs to come back down, turn the hamstrings back on. All right, so now this is where things get really, really fun. You have your palms facing each other, all right? Palms face each other, and now what you're going to do is you're going to press into the foam roller. So press into the foam roller. And what I want you to do is you're going to press and reach. You should feel, like I do, if you're a climber, that this is tight. Up and underneath those armpits, it is tight, tight, tight. Those are your lats talking to you, and we want them to let go, but we want them to let go without the expense of really being in a super extended position of our core, okay? So now, as you're pressing down, and you're going to roll up, okay? So you're pressing down and rolling up. Don't let your shoulders roll up towards your ears. We don't want to do that. We want to press down, and that means that we're getting some low trap, and then we're going to reach, getting some of that serratus on board as well. Now you're going to exhale here. Low ribs come down, and you're going to reach and press. Now on your inhale, you want to think about really breathing into those tight spots, especially right in the middle and underneath your armpits where those big chunky lats come in. And then exhale. You want to press down and reach again, and you think about reaching with your shoulder blades, not with your shoulders coming up. That's really important. So this whole time, yeah, you're navigating a lot of stuff. I'm not gonna lie. So don't expect yourself to get this perfect on the first try. You probably won't, and that's okay. I didn't either. I've practiced this many, many times. But what this drill can help us do is number one, it can help us to really get our lats to let go, which feels amazing as climbers. It can also set us up for success when we go climbing because we are able to get really nice overhead mobility without having to overly extend and flare the ribs. And that's just something for the longevity of our climbing career. That's a really good thing to have. All right, before I forget, if you had trouble with your hamstrings, that's what the yoga block was for. So you can squeeze on the yoga block and then pull back with your heels and see if that doesn't help to get hamstrings a little bit more without the front of the hip wanting to really take over and act up. So again, main check boxes for this exercise. Hamstrings on, pelvis rolled towards rib cage, lower ribs down, deep core up. You're going to reach back to that foam roller without losing any of that we just created. And if you can't get back without really arching your back, then just use a higher surface. You can use a bench, you can use a couch, you can use a bigger foam roller, whatever. You don't have to use this low of a foam roller. Okay, so you're going to come back, and then what you're going to do is you're pressing down and reaching at the same time, but without changing anything that we did down here. Okay, so we basically set our foundation here, and then our arms are the moving pieces. You're going to exhale, press down, and reach. On that inhale, I want you to breathe into those tight spaces all along your sides. Exhale. And repeat just like that. So what you want to check here is before you do this exercise, just kind of in this position right here, reach your arms back and see how that feels. Just kind of notice, like, is anything moving? And then after you do this exercise, reach your arms back, and you should feel a lot less sticky. Like, you may feel like you have more range of motion without arching your back. You may even feel like, oh, like my back just feels better when I'm in this position now, or maybe your pelvis wants to lie just like a little flatter, you're not in so much of an anterior tilt. Lots of things that can happen, lots of good stuff with this exercise. So anyway, sorry that was so long-winded, but there's kind of a lot of pieces. That's how you do it.